Hey YouTube, today I'm going to be doing a deck profile on my updated Magia Pale Moon deck. So Magia right now I feel is like one of the scariest, fastest Pale Moon decks. Very similar to Granblue in terms of how powerful it can be. In fact, actually the numbers are much higher than Granblue. But it does have a couple of bad matchups, one being Shadow Paladin because of Diablo. It forces you to play in a way that you normally wouldn't play with this deck. In terms of having to call stuff from the hand to have certain stuff on the field. But other than that, the deck is very strong and can be pretty competitive in the current meta. So let's get right into the deck. So for starters, for Mask Magician Harri, he's the GB2 for Pale Moon. Really good card for them. He even has a pretty decent GB2 skill, although I never find myself using it. Next, for Flying Manticore. This is probably the best backup because it's a grade 3 with Magia that has a rearguard Magia effect. And if you don't ride Harri, you can ride this. And when you ride this, you Soul Blast 1, you Counterblast 1, Soul Blast 1, and you look at 5 to search for a card with Magia. So it allows you to search a lot of the key cards that you can call from hand. And including that, it can search the Magia Hoopmaster, which is the perfect card. So, seems to be the common trending thing, at least from the cards that Bushiroad's coming out with. They come out with some companion grade 3 is what I refer to it as, for the GB2 grade 3 that can search the newer perfect guards that came out that are not the unflipped perfect guards. So that's why I tend to favor playing those because of the alternate grade 3 that I choose. I feel like it makes the deck pretty consistent now, based off of how the game seems like it's supposed to be played now. For grade 2s, I'm running 3 Darkside Princess. Darkside Princess is a really interesting card for Pale Moon. I think on set 5. She is not GB restricted, and she can be very good at rushing. So she can potentially rush without having, like in the early game, just to try to get more damage or force the 10k shields out of the opponent's hand early. Potentially she can also force a heal trigger out of the opponent's hand so they can't use it for G-Guard, like assuming that you or the opponent is a grade 2 when she does that. But yeah, pretty good card. Definitely one of the best rear guards for this deck, and actually she can be teched. What I like about her, she can be teched into lots of different Pale Moon decks. Because she's not GB restricted, so she works really well with like Beast Tamers and all the older stuff. 3 instead of 4 because you tend to move very quickly with this deck, so I feel like 3 is enough. I don't really find myself having to use 4. Next, 3 Crescent Moon Juggler. He's got Magia. He's the Glimmer Breath clone for the clan. Just a very solid card that forms numbers pretty quick and helps enable a bunch of combos. And then 3 Flying Periton. Flying Periton is another Magia rearguard that has a pretty good skill. There's a grade 1 that's better than him now, I feel, but he's still pretty good. If you don't want to run him, or if you want to drop him to 2, that's fine. You can run a 4th Darkside Princess. That's probably what I'd recommend. And then the last grade 2 I am running is 2 Dreaming Pegasus. Dreaming Pegasus is basically the Irina from Silverthorn with GB1, and she's a grade 2 instead of grade 1. Basically, look at 3, select 1, put in the soul, put the rest on the bottom of the deck in any order. So she helps stack the soul rather than blind soul charging. So that can be pretty good. She can fetch some key cards like Darkside Princess or this guy or any of the ones like Periton and stuff are all good choices. So that's a grade 2 lineup. For grade 1s, 4 Hoopmaster. I highly recommend running Hoopmaster. She can help against very pressure aggro heavy decks because she can essentially ensure that you get an interceptor, and she gives it plus 5k shield. So if you happen to soul charge like a random trigger like this, for instance, you can call the trigger out to the front rear guard lane. It gets intercept and it gets plus 5k shield, so it'll turn into a 15k shield. So really good. I'm helping the deck because the deck does tend to have like a completely empty field most of the game unless you're up against Shadow Paladin. Making it really good, making the deck really good against Kagero, Narukami, Link, Joker, those type of things. Next, for Masquerade Bunny, just to stride as much as possible, make this deck very quick, search out Harri, that sort of thing. And then for Cutie Paratrooper, she's one of the main essential cards. I would consider her like the Katrina of Neo Nectar. a Bloom Neo Nectar in this deck. She does require that Harri is the Vanguard, unlike Perryton. That's why I decided to run 3 Perryton instead of just 2 Perryton. But yeah, Harri as the Vanguard with this is just really good. And then 2, Moonlight Melody Tamer Betty. So she's not Magia, but she can call a Magia out from the soul. So she can just keep attacks going. Pretty good booster with 2 copies. For grade 0s, trigger lineup is just 4 draw, 8 critical. So just Poison Juggler and Dark Sword Master. Dark Sword Master is really good in this deck, so I highly recommend running that one. Poison Juggler is sort of like not that important. So if you want to run the Nightmare Doll, I forgot her name, basically the new critical trigger, you can run that instead. Because I found myself never having to use this, and I found Swordmaster to be the one that I always rely on. Because you can put it in the soul, give 5k to the Vanguard, draw a card, and then later on you can call it out from the soul and do the same thing again and again. So, really nice. Draw trigger is there because you tend to never have a field when it's your opponent's turn, so you do kind of want to have slightly extra hand just to draw into perfect guards and things, just to help defend. And then, of course, 4 heals. And the starter is Cat Knight in High Boots. Very similar to Little Witch Lulu in Oracle Think Tank. He doesn't get called out of the soul at the beginning of the game. It isn't until you stride that he appears. But he's basically one of the key cards that in the mid-game that gets, like, makes all your plays, basically. Crazy combos with this guy. For the stride deck, 3 Millward. Dreamy Axel Millward is, she's an okay card, very much like Verano and Bustard and the Warp Drive Dragon in terms of how you would play this card, meaning you usually stride this as the 3rd stride. You wouldn't really stride it 2nd, you really have to stride it like the 3rd stride. So it's kind of late game, just a nice extra option they've got to get cards that can get other cards to stay on the field. And then next for Mephisto. Mephisto is one of the best stride units that the Magia build has for right now. I don't know, Millward's okay, but I really like this guy because this guy he seems to make a lot of crazy plays. But yeah, he's kind of a 4 of, like you can get away with running 3 of him, but I feel like 4 of him is best. The 2 Lunatic Dragon, just for the random Lunatic play. He stride him 2nd and he gets a critical. So it just depends on how the match plays, whether you're going to go to Millward or Lunatic that game. And then 1 Dragon Master Amanda, I guess I should have mentioned her first. She's still a really good first stride, but you can also go into Mephisto now as first stride. But yeah, Amanda is still pretty decent first stride on hit pressure. And she's Magia, so she works with Mephisto. And then, of course, the 1 Dragon Masquerade Harri. It's a really good finisher. You can use it like 3rd stride or higher. You don't really, you kind of have to use it 3rd stride. You can use it 2nd stride if you strode Mephisto first, or even Millward first. But yeah, I definitely I rarely ever use this guy. But if I do, he's usually like a 4th stride for some reason. I don't know. Usually he's really good at coming out later in the game when the opponent's hand is like 5 cards or less. So, and then for G Guardians, I'm running 3 Chainsaw Magitrick Furnival. He's just really good. He is actually one of the better G Guardians. I rank him up there with the Genesis one and the Gold Paladin one. In terms of just how overall easy it is to pull off the effect. He helps the deck achieve better consistency of putting stuff in the soul. So just really good. And then 1 Metal Element Scryu, because sometimes you need extra 10,000 shield to protect your Vanguard. So you can use this like as a 2nd G Guardian, because you usually don't have that many interceptors. So this, along with Hoopmaster, helps you have better defensive capabilities. Oh, and then I am running one Air Element Sea Breeze just because this is a GB Stride heavy deck, and if the opponent is like Ripples or something, then I'm just gonna use this and just counter them that way. People may have noticed I'm not running Desmill. Desmill in Magia is really pointless from playtesting the deck. I used to run one Desmill, but I found that it's just not needed overall. Like if I was to go to local tournament, I would not use this in the deck. I just wouldn't even bring it that day. Because, like I said, you don't really have a lot of interceptors most of the game. So Scryu is definitely better, and Furnival is more likely to stride him like 2 times, maybe 3 times the game. So, yeah, that's basically it, guys. Hope you enjoyed that Pale Moon deck. This is probably one of the most, I still like Silverthorn and Beasthammer, but I feel like this one right now is just the most fun because of how insanely good the 20k column, 31k columns are with like Darkside and stuff. So let me know in the comments what you think of Pale Moon. Do you think they can be pretty competitive? And as always, guys, stay tuned for more Cardfight Vanguard videos in the future, and I'll see you guys next time. Thanks.